So if you want to make a great snack, these teriyaki beef sticks are out of this world. First time I made them, and these are really fantastic. Watch how we did it. So I wanted to get into making some tubular meat. So recently, I bought a meat grinder from Meat Your Maker. It was about a 3/4 horsepower, has a lot of power, worked out great. I also bought a used stuffer, happened to be also by that same company, Meat Your Maker. I am really impressed with the products. So I bought about a 6-pound chuck roast. I think it was just a little bit over that. And then I also bought some pre-made seasonings from a company called PK Seasonings. I think they're out of Wisconsin. I bought a teriyaki beef stick, some other sausage mixes, and also the casings to put on this tubular meat. So for my first shot at it, I ground up that chuck roast, and it worked out really good. So the first thing I did was chopped up the meat into smaller chunks, probably 3x3 pieces, put them in the freezer for about 30 minutes to make sure they're nice and cold. They grind easier that way. Then I just stuffed it right in through this grinder, and it worked out really well. I purchased a foot switch for this also. I think it was like $10 off of Amazon. That worked out really good too. Made it much easier. I could manage everything with both hands as opposed to having to turn the switch on and off. So if you have a meat grinder, spend the $10. Go get yourself a foot switch and you will just love it. So after I did the coarse grind, I chilled that for a little bit and then threw it back in with a fine grind. Now I had it in a big bowl, mixed in my PK Seasonings teriyaki mix to what they said. They have a great chart that shows you for each seasoning based on how many pounds of meat that you've got, how much water you should put in it, how much of the curing salt that you need to, and how much of the spice mix as well. So that was super easy. Just made sure to really stir that up good, get it all the way through, and then I fired up my 5-pound stuffer, put the collagen casings on, and just crank that bad boy to fill up those casings. And that worked out great too. A little bit of learning, but I think all in all it came out really good. So then I took those and put them onto a cookie sheet and put them in the refrigerator for at least a day to make sure that those flavorings really got absorbed all the way through that meat. Then we put it on the Yoder 640 smoker, just let them go. They were on from about 7 o'clock in the morning. So I had them on for about 3 hours at 150 degrees in my smoker. Had a probe inside so I could tell the internal temperature. I think it started out at about 50 degrees or so and went on up until we hit that 148, 150 mark. I did turn it up in about the last hour, hour and a half, because I think I'd got enough smoke on it by then, and I really wanted to just finish and bring them up to heat. So that worked out great. Pulled them out of the smoker, put them into an ice bath to make sure they cooled down and stop any cooking. So now that we've got these chilling out in their ice bath, just to cool them down, I think we're ready to cut into them. So I'm just going to take a towel here, dry them off a little bit, and we're going to chunk into those first few. Looking pretty good. Got to have the big knife for this. Trim a little of that edge off. I'm going to give these things a try. See what that tastes like. I think this was an absolute home run. Loving how these turned out. So I'm just going to cut these at each one of those turns. And then for the full ones, going to cut them in half again. So that's going to make a nice size. Throw them into a Ziploc bag. They're all dried off now. Yeah, this was an experiment, and it turned out great. The smoke on there is really good. Really like that flavor that was in here. Good beefy flavor to it, but not too overpowering. So all in all, I think my first attempt at making some beef sticks using my grinder and my new stuffer, I'm pretty happy with it. So the yield on this, I started out with 6 pounds of chuck roast and ground that up. Then we added a little bit of water to it. We added the spices into it. Really didn't have too much waste out of there. We ended up with right around 5 pounds of this smoked meat. I think the taste on these is better than anything that I've bought in a store. Anything that's processed, has a lot of chemicals in, and is made to be shelf stable at room temperature for a long time. I think these are just great. I can't wait to make more tubular meats. I thought they had a great smoky taste. The teriyaki came through. I didn't use any pork in here. This was just straight beef, and it was probably about I would say about a 85% to 90% meat. Not a lot of fat in there, just a little bit of intermuscular and a couple of little chunks. So these are really lean. I think they turned out great. You've got to give these things a try. If you are inspired by what I'm doing here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like, share it with a friend. And the most important thing to do is to make sure and go out and cook something great in your backyard this weekend. From Barbecue Plus, thanks for watching.